Hello dear students, I myself UM Tripathi from Awadh International School, PGT English, is going to tell you about the poems by Milton. At first I would like to discuss about John Milton. John Milton began writing poetry at the age of 10. When he was only 10 years old, he started to write poetry. After finishing his formal education at Cambridge University, he read almost everything available in Latin, Greek, Italian and English. He was appointed Latin secretary, where he worked so hard that eye strain from years of late night reading caused him to become totally blind at the age of 45. In the final years of his life, he wrote through dictation Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. So these are the two books which were published when he had become blind at the age of 45. I have gone through one of the poems written by John Milton on his blindness. When he had become blind at the age of 45 years, he was complaining against God. If the God has taken his eyesight, why should he compose poems in the praise of God? But afterwards he realizes that God does not need any man's work. In the poetry the lines are written, God doth not need any man's work. And also he says that thousands of angels are always ready to carry out his orders on the earth, on the surface of the seas. Even they are rapidly roaming in the sky. The quotable lines in the poem is, they also serve who only stand and wait. By means of this line he tries to convince the readers, the people are true worshipper of God when they stop themselves or check themselves in the time of calamity and disaster, and whenever they get favorable time, they perform their work and ultimately they get success. I would like to remind you one of the poems written by P.B. Shelley, Ode to the West Wind. This poem is the masterpiece of this great poet P.B. Shelley. The quotable lines which are given in this poem is also there. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Winter is symbolic to miseries and troubles, and spring is symbolic to happiness and pleasure, or the bliss of human life. By means of these lines, the poet tries to convey this message that in the time of miseries and troubles, you must have patience. But with the help of your sincere efforts, if you try hard, you can attain success and can enjoy the bliss of life. There are two poems which are given in your textbook. One is On Time and the other one is on Shakespeare, 1630. John Milton was very much impressed by William Shakespeare and the poem that he has written in his memory, and to honor him, just see how the lines go in the poem written by John Milton. What needs my Shakespeare for his honored bones? For his honored bones means after the death of William Shakespeare. What needs my Shakespeare for his honored bones? The labor of an age in piled stones. By means of this line, John Milton tries to explain that after the death of William Shakespeare, there is no need to erect any kind of monument in piled stones because he has performed a lot of labor at the time of his own age. He has written a number of poems and a number of plays. Because of his writings or the composition of poems and the writing of plays, he has become famous. Or that his hallowed relics should be hid under a star appointing pyramid. Just see how the lines are written here. Or that is hallowed. The spelling of the word is Hallowed. Hallowed means sacred. Relics means the mementos, are the things which are erected after the death of someone, which are made in the memory of someone. So where there is need that is sacred or holy, mementos should be buried under a star appointing pyramids. Star appointing pyramids means the pyramids which are pointing towards the sky. In other words, you can say that the pyramids which are made very huge in size, and there is no need that his relics or mementos or his memoirs should be buried under the huge pyramids. Dear son of memory, great heir of fame, what needest thou such weak witness of thy name? Here John Milton says that William Shakespeare is a son of memory. Means he will be remembered by the posterity, by the future generation or the coming generations. He is a great successor of his own fame because the name and fame that he has gained because of his writing, that will be remembered by the future generations, by the posterity, and by the people of the coming generations. What needest thou such weak witness of thy name? Here the poet uses the phrase weak witness. This phrase is symbolic to the monuments which are erected in the memory of someone. The monuments which are made in the memory of William Shakespeare, these monuments are weak witness. They cannot make him immortal. He himself has done a lot of work. Because of this reason, he will gain name and fame by the coming generations, by the posterity. Thou in our wonder and astonishment has built thyself a livelong monument. It is a matter of great surprise for the poet John Milton. He is full of wonder and surprise or astonishment because William Shakespeare has himself created a lifelong monument that will remain in the heart of the future generations, or that will remain in the heart of the posterity. For values to the same of slow, endeavoring art, it will be a very shameful task for the people, those who erect the monuments in the memory of William Shakespeare, because this task will be slow and they will be making their efforts continuously. While making these artistic monuments, the easy numbers flow in the lines which are written in the poetry of William Shakespeare. Those lines flow very smoothly, and that each heart hath from the leaves of thy unvalued book. And each heart means here the poet is addressing to the readers that when they will turn over the pages of his unvalued books, those easy numbers, those easy lines will flow in their heart, and they will come to understand what feelings have been poured down by William Shakespeare in his poetry or in his poems. Those Delphic lines with a deep impression look. Delphic lines means the typical lines which are having very hidden meanings, which has a very deep impression on the mind of the readers. Then thou our fancy of itself be raving. Those typical lines which are having hidden meanings, they will cast a deep impression on the mind of the readers. Then thou our fancy of itself be raving, dost make us marvel with too much conceiving. Here the poet John Milton imagines that if we erect the monuments, we are left alone. But if his memories are kept in the marble statue or in the monuments, with too much conceiving means by having a great idea about this great poet and playwright, and so sepulture in such pomp dost lie. Sepulture means the monument or the tomb that is erected in the memory of William Shakespeare can be a symbol of his pomp and so, and that will lie down in those monuments. But such kind of monuments and tombs which will be very much magnificent for William Shakespeare if these are not erected by using brick, concrete and cement, etc. Because he himself has written a number of books, a number of verses, a number of plays which act just like a monument, like a tomb, that kings for such a tomb would wish to die. And this will be a longing or a great desire for the kings. They also would like to die in such kind of tombs or in such kind of monuments. But for William Shakespeare, there is no need to erect such kind of monuments because he himself, his writings and his books are the long-lasting monuments and tombs that will always be remembered by the posterity, by the people of the future generations. On the basis of this poem, there's a question for you. Why does Milton feel it is not necessary to put up a monument in stone for Shakespeare? On the basis of the explanation of this poem, it is very much clear. Milton feels Shakespeare does not need any tomb or pyramid constructed in his remembrance. He calls them weak witness of his name, which would themselves get destroyed from the ravages of time or from the destructive powers of time. Instead, he declares that Shakespeare has himself built an eternal monument in the hearts of coming generations or in the hearts of posterity, and he is immortalized forever. He will always be remembered by the people of the coming generations. Therefore, Milton feels that it is not necessary to put a monument in stone for Shakespeare. Another question is there where we have to explain weak witness of thy name. This is the phrase that has been used by the poet John Milton in the poem on Shakespeare 1630. But the direct question is, why does the weak witness of thy name refer to? This phrase refers to tombs, monuments and pyramids which are constructed in the memory of someone. These monuments can never immortalize a person as they are themselves subject to decay. By means of this one, you can understand that these historical monuments, tombs and pyramids which are constructed, they also decay due to passage of time. That's why poet calls them weak witness of Shakespeare's name, because these monuments, tombs and pyramids are not everlasting. Another question is before you. How does Milton describe Shakespeare as the source of information for all succeeding generations of poets? Another thing that is very important, that William Shakespeare has been a source of inspiration for all succeeding generations of poets. He has been a source of inspiration for the poets of posterity. Milton remarks Shakespeare's however his literary works as an invaluable piece. He says that each a heart of the present generation feels the power and divinity of his Delphic lines, the typical lines which have hidden meanings, and the posterity means coming generation would discover the same. His arts and creation are a wonder and astonishment for all the poets, and he would live forever in the hearts and minds of the future poets. The Shakespeare is a source of inspiration for all succeeding generations of poets. What is the best tribute that posterity has bestowed on Shakespeare? This is a very typical question for you people to answer. But here I would like to give you the answer of this one. The best tribute that posterity has bestowed on Shakespeare is that it has retained the literary works of Shakespeare. So this is the great respect that is given by the poets of the succeeding generation, that they have retained his literary works, and it will continue to retain forever. And this will be a great tribute to William Shakespeare, of these succeeding poets, of these poets of the posterity, that they will retain his literary works forever. Shakespeare's poems and passages are frequently quoted in the common language, and he dwells or resides in the hearts and minds of all the generations. On the basis of this one, we can say that he has become a source of all succeeding generations of the poets, and they will remember him forever, and by means of preserving his literary works, they are paying a great homage to the great poet and playwright William Shakespeare.